practices of a bodhisattva, this text contains preliminary, main, and concluding practices. Among the preliminaries, there are a total of 7 important aspects. Previously, we discussed the rarity of obtaining a human body. We also spoke about renouncing one's homeland. After obtaining a precious and rare human life, one must, as a first and essential step, leave behind their familiar homeland. But it's not enough. Work outside or anything away insufficient. You must rely on a place of solitude. Live somewhere suitable for Dharma practice. Today we discuss this principle, relying on a source of virtue, a place of solitude, away from negative environments. Afflictions gradually subside. Without distraction, virtues naturally increase. Pure mind, Dharma certainty arises. Dwelling in solitude is Bodhisattva's practice. Leaving adverse places, then we should rely on a quiet place. If you rely on such a quiet place, your desires, anger, and all afflictions will gradually become less and less. Many people yearn for pure places, and there's a reason. And your vows remain pure as well. Therefore, neither oneself nor loved ones do you engage in business, farming, or similar activities and so on, such noisy and distracting faults. So the mind can diligently focus on single-pointed meditation and similar practices. In this way, body, speech, and mind all engage in virtue. Naturally, your virtuous roots will increase more and more. When the mind is truly pure, that virtue will increase naturally as well. A quiet place lacks distractions, so virtue flourishes by itself. As the mind becomes stable, the heart gradually becomes truly capable, remarkably gentle and clear. With wisdom, you analyze deep Dharma meanings, and naturally certainty arises within. So that is why many people in the past, when they study, often went to very quiet places or to peaceful monasteries with a strong traditional atmosphere to seek the authentic Dharma. Not in particularly noisy places, nor in especially chaotic places do you truly attain true Dharma. So if you are to choose a place, it should have a suitable and appropriate environment. In fact, Buddhist monasteries, indeed most of them are most often located in beautiful surroundings. As it is said, Shakyamuni Buddha's disciples were quite remarkable. They would always carefully select the very best places for themselves. So if you find such a quiet place, once your mind is purified, faith in the Dharma develops more easily. Indeed, this can make a big difference. For instance, if you study or contemplate in a city, the power seems quite weak. But in a quiet place, especially among fellow practitioners, in a group like this, it's as if your mind quickly turns towards Dharma. If we can listen, contemplate, and meditate, the mind becomes calm. Otherwise, it always feels unsettled and restless. Everyone should understand this. Therefore, living in a quiet place, endowed with the virtues of the 3 higher trainings. This is indeed the proper conduct that all bodhisattvas should always rely on, all great masters of the past. At the beginning, realized in quiet places. The Ornament of Sutras mentions this, a place for wise practitioners, with good resources and environment, virtuous companions, and truly conducive to yogic bliss. This means living in a place where food is very easy to obtain, for example. If we practice, our daily life should be somewhat... But nowadays, many people buy rice and oil and store too much. That's not really necessary. If it all ultimately expires, it's wasteful. Then people will complain again. Also, there should absolutely be no thieves. Food must be available and no robbers. There shouldn't be anything to be afraid of every day. But some places may not have robbers, but there are those who act like them. That's troublesome, but unavoidable. Many great masters in the past often encountered many difficulties on the path to seek Dharma. In India, there were poisonous snakes and all kinds of hardships. In other places as well, in every era, great masters, while seeking the Dharma, this is ascetic practice. Whether it is fear or perhaps cold, places where people fall ill from different climates. That is not ideal if the place is too high in altitude, over 4,000 meters. Even simply walking leaves you breathless. This is also troublesome. It's better to retreat at a lower altitude with good companions and no obstacles to meditation. The places where yogic practice is easy. The letter to a friend says, dwell in a sacred place, rely on a good spiritual friend. And also make aspirations and accumulate merit. These are the four wheels. Only those with great merit possess these. First, you often reside in a holy place suitable for practice. Next, rely on an excellent teacher. Aspire and accumulate merit. If you have these four conditions, it's like a car with four wheels. Any island you head, there will be no obstacles. The way of the Bodhisattva also says one should truly renounce desires and delight in solitude, detaching from the world, dwell in a quiet place with no strife or affliction, in peaceful forests. This means we should develop aversion to the faults of noise and distraction. Distance ourselves from these. Practice the Dharma in a virtuous and quiet place. So how should we practice Dharma? In the way of the Bodhisattva, cease conceptual thoughts, practice bodhicitta. The main practice in solitude is bodhicitta. No matter what Dharma we practiced, focus on bodhicitta. That is to say, meditate deeply on compassion and cultivate it. There is also the bodhicitta of exchanging self for others. In Ju Cloud Sutra and the questions of the Noble Elder Sutra, that when living in a quiet place, only cultivate virtue. Otherwise, in a quiet place, you might just sleep in every day. Frequently visiting others and chatting all day long with friends and neighbors. If you start chatting, some people love to talk endlessly. Very quickly, all your time is wasted. This is the case. A quiet place is not for such thing. Just as I mentioned a few days ago, since we have come here, it hasn't been easy for any of us. If you come here and waste time, it's really even more regrettable. You all should understand that. Since coming here is not easy, you should gain some Dharma teaching. And if you do not waste your time, even a single day spent here is meaningful, in my opinion. The Moon Lamp Sutra also says, dwelling in solitude brings constant renunciation of conditioned phenomena. In quiet place, one develops aversion to samsaric conditioned phenomena. No craving worldly things, no attachment to mundane affairs, no increase in contamination. It expounds many benefits and merits of relying on solitude. Lord Atisha also said, before stable realization, one should rely on forest far from distraction and harm. If we haven't reached stability, which is difficult, we are mostly ordinary beings, beginners. Before stable realization, we should rely on quiet, undisturbed places, be it forests, caves, or monasteries. It's best to do so, because ordinary people are easily influenced. If I want to do retreat well, to listen, contemplate, but then a friend comes by, or we want to go somewhere, this place isn't good, it's too noisy. The administrator is also very strict here. On this side, it's not good. By the river, it's not good. By the lake, it's not good either. So we keep changing. Yes, yes. And then unfavorable conditions arise. Masters said this, it's not the time to gather disciples, but rather to rely on solitude. This is cited in the words of my perfect teacher. Degenerate age is not time to gather disciples. One should rely on a quiet place. Some Khenpos and Khenmos may wish to go out now to spread Dharma online or through other means, but perhaps now is not the time to gather followers. Instead, one should simply settle in solitude, recite Om Mani Padme Hum daily by oneself, each and every day, close the door, and this is very good. When someone knocks, after settling in solitude, one must cut off mundane affairs and desires, this life. Devote oneself solely to Dharma, striving to have no regrets at death. Dromtonpa also said, now we live in a degenerate age. Each should practice individually. attaining Dharma is hard in this time. So everyone should personally practice the Dharma themselves. It is important to attain the sign of warmth, as Drom Trungpa said. Also, Lord Napawa said, if your mind is not yet well trained, ordinary people should stay in solitude and wholeheartedly cultivate compassion and bodhicitta, not immediately engage in benefiting beings. These teachings are truly important. Some people have barely learned anything at all and then go out to benefit sentient beings directly, which is actually quite difficult. In the words of my perfect teacher, there's a saying, if the head is not yet cooked, don't stick out the tongue. This is a Tibetan metaphor. If our basic practice is not finished, I wish to benefit sentient beings. It's difficult. As beginners, we should first, in solitude, diligently cultivate compassion and bodhicitta. Then, when all the right causes and conditions are present, spread Dharma. This is likely very important. Geshe Potoa also said the same, dwelling in solitude is the cause for greater concentration. It is also the cause for pure discipline. Lord Nyo Zhuang also said in his statement, if one carefully adopts virtue and avoids non-virtue and relies on solitude, dropping trivial matters one realizes. Geshe Nabawa also said, if the mind is not yet mature, then sublime intention cannot be sustained for long. Therefore, one should cultivate bodhicitta in solitude. After today, many people may simply not want to leave solitude. If you are sent out to teach the Dharma, no, I'm just a beginner. As the Master just said, before achieving stability, cultivate compassion and bodhicitta. One should not immediately benefit sentient beings. The Bodhisattva Togme Sangpo himself also said, therefore one must cut attachment to enemies, relatives, wealth and friends in sacred place. For the happiness of all beings as vast as space, constantly cultivate bodhicitta. The Master gave many such teachings. Moreover, he practiced them personally.
Sonandai Tamsa Rogaya Tonani Jana Pasi Kirgana Jirano Chupai Chupun Solen Raja
Bandangara Badma Sodargye Bandangara Badma Sodargye Bandangara Badma Sodargye